Today I'm making a tag blanket, and it's very easy to sew one yourself to gift as the perfect baby shower gift, a 1-year-old birthday present, or a hey, great job for giving birth present. And all you need are basic sewing skills to get the job done. Here's what you'll need. A 13 by 13 inch piece of fabric. I personally prefer fleece because it's soft, it washes well, and it has just enough stiffness for this blanket. Another 13 by 13 inch piece of fabric for the other side. I tend to use fleece for both sides, or I have also used minky just because who doesn't like to touch minky? And you need 20 pieces of ribbon cut to about 5.5 inches each. I used 10 different ribbons and cut 2 strips from each type. The silky ribbons and the grosgrain are my favorites. I do avoid anything with glitter, however, because it tends to rub off, and I don't want some child to alarm his parents with glitter poop. Of course, you need a sewing machine, some coordinating thread, and pins or clips. Once you have your fabric and ribbons cut, place one of your fabric pieces right side up on your working space. I like to lay out my ribbons 5 to each side all the way around to make sure I like how they look. To make it easier on myself, I lay one side out, and once I like it, I mirror the same ribbons on the opposite edge from left to right. So on the first side from left to right, it will have ribbons A, B, C, D, and E. Then on the opposite edge from left to right will be E, D, C, B, and A. Make sense? It truly doesn't matter what order you sew the ribbons on. This is just my method. Just move things around until you're satisfied with which ones are sitting next to each other. Eyeball an equal distance between each one, leaving about 1 inch at either corner empty. Then fold each ribbon in half, right sides out, and pin in place with the loop toward the center of the fabric. I leave about 1/2 inch of ribbon hanging off the edge of the fabric so that I know when I sew the 2 pieces of fabric together later, I won't miss the edge of the ribbon and have to fix it. Is it necessary? Not at all, but this is how I avoid using the dreaded seam ripper, and it works for me. Once all the ribbons are pinned on, use your sewing machine to sew about 1/4 inch from the edge all the way around to secure your ribbons. Sewing them on at this point means that once you're done with the project, the ribbons will have been sewn through 3 times. Then if Junior sucks on the ribbon, chews at it, or uses that mad baby strength, they won't be able to pull the ribbon out, creating a choke hazard. So now you should have 1 piece of fabric with 20 ribbons sewn on it. Next, lay your second piece of fabric on top of the first and match up all the edges and pin it in place, marking off a 2-inch section that you won't sew at this point. I like to use 2 pins placed perpendicular to the fabric 2 inches apart to remind me not to sew it shut. Once again, no seam rippers, please. Sew the 2 pieces together, except that 2-inch area. If you sew this with the piece you attach the ribbons to on top, you could stitch just to the left of the stitch line you already created, which will enclose that seam, the first seam, in the new seam so you don't see it. Ask me how I know to do that. At this point, you can cut the corner of the fabric off. Don't cut your seam, just the excess fabric. This helps reduce the bulk in the corners of your project and makes your corners more corner-like. Flip the blanket right side out using the opening you left and push the edges and corners out completely. I use a pokey little stick that came in a bag of polyfill to push the corners completely out, but you could use a pencil or a chopstick or whatever you have handy. All the ribbons should be out and you only have a few small steps to go. Fold the edges of the opening you left inward so that the raw edges are inside the blanket and the ribbons line up with all the others on that side. Sewing about 1/4 inch from the edge, sew the opening closed and continue around the entire blanket to top stitch. This provides one more security check for all those ribbons and holds the top and bottom pieces of fabric together. And now you're done! Doesn't it look like the perfect baby toy? To make this blanket even easier to give away and just the tiniest bit cuter, you can go to the link in the description box below and download these free baby tags. Happy crafting!